Senator Gregory.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today as a resident of Oakland County to express my disappointment and dismay in the legislature over the recent developments regarding the boldface gerrymandering legislation for Oakland County. In light of the documentation released yesterday, it is painfully clear that there were several ethical breaches and even political fraud undertaken by members of this legislature. We now have concrete evidence that members of the legislature introduced and passed legislation at the taxpayers' expense and in direct opposition to voter intent for purely political purposes. And then Republicans fabricated justification for it to try to deflect the blatantly partisan overturns of their efforts. I wish it felt better to be right, but I am actually deeply saddened by the confirmation today that legislative Republicans were using the law and taxpayers' dollars solely to pursue political gains. I questioned the motives behind this bill when it was passed and after every subsequent court ruling saying it was illegal. But today leaves no question about the actual intent of this legislation. I am particularly disheartened that Governor Snyder, who continues to assert that he is apolitical and outcome-driven, was either a willing participant or a partisan pawn in this blatant act of political gamesmanship. On December 14, 2011, I implored this body and the governor to reject this political ploy and vote down this legislation. Yesterday, March 20th, 2012, my greatest fears were proven.
Senator Gregory.
Thank you, Madam President. Back in December, I said I was very disappointed that Governor Snyder continues to undermine his own promises and outside deals and gets sucked into partisanship being pushed by this legislature. Sadly, this is just the latest in a long line of examples Republicans catering to their cronies and collecting political capital, compromising ethics, fair play, and due process in return. Back then, it was an accusation. After yesterday, it appears to be a fact. And while the motivation behind this legislation is certainly appalling on its own, it rocks the entire foundation of this legislature and Governor Snyder's administration. It calls into question every other piece of legislation that we have railed against for being partisan and preferential. In passing House Bill 5187, this body has betrayed the public's trust. I urge my Republican legislative colleagues and Governor Snyder to abandon any further efforts to violate this Constitution, undermine voter intent, and betray the people for the sake of their own partisan agenda. I ask that the governor and this legislative body respect the will of the residents of Oakland County and those folks that they voted to draw the redistricting lines. So with that, Madam Chair, I would ask that my remarks be included in today's journal.
Thank you, Senator Gregory. Your remarks will be printed in the journal.